Welcome to In Front of the Chalkboard, a video series looking at the state of the Culver City Unified School Districts, exploring ideas on how to make our schools even greater. We are very fortunate today to be joined by Steve Levin, who is a school board member and former United Parents of Culver City president. I am Scott McVarish. I am a parent of a 4th grade student at El Marino Language School and co-founder of the United Parents of Culver City. Steve, welcome.
Thanks. And if you're mentioning parents, I'm also a parent of 3 kids in Culver City schools.
That's right.
4th grade, 6th grade, and 11th grade.
Elementary, middle, and high school.
Yeah, so we get to see them all.
That's right. Well, that probably makes you qualified to talk about all 3 levels, but I think we'll focus today on the high schools.
Okay.
All right. So how long have you been a school board member, first of all?
It's been about a year and a half now.
Year and a half. And an exciting time. The bond has passed during that time.
A lot of change going on, yeah.
A lot of change, a lot of positive things that I think are evident even to non-parents, but certainly to parents. I think there's a nice buzz about the district right now. So let's just jump into the high school.
Okay.
Your daughter is now in her 3rd year at the high school.
Right.
So you have a good view of what life was like before you were a school board member and now as a parent and school board member. So let's talk about the strengths. Tell me about the strengths of Culver City High School.
Well, of course, there's lots of strengths, and it's hard to pick just 1 or 2, but I would say one of the biggest strengths we have at Culver High is we have a wide range of options for the students at Culver High in terms of AP classes and the after-school AVPA program and all kinds of different ways academically that students who are ready for it can do all kinds of interesting different things and be challenged and do great stuff. So for the bulk of the students, we have a lot of options, and it's a really good high school for those purposes.
And how, if people want the high school to be even better, how do we build upon those types of strengths to make the high school better? So
first of all, building on the existing strengths, there's always a need to keep an eye out for new classes, things like we should be doing more with computer programming and gaming and things like that, improving the sciences and so forth, even though we already have great science classes. There's lots of ways you can add to that. If you look at areas where I think we could improve, there are areas where, frankly, a lot of high schools have a problem, and that is we do really well for the kids in the middle, the vast majority of the kids. We do pretty well at our high school, unlike many, for the kids who are advanced and are able to take more. But it's a struggle to find a way to support kids who, for whatever reason, aren't doing as well. Now, we're taking strides in that direction. Centaur Plus is a great thing. We're building in time every school day, every week, eventually every school day.
Can you talk a little bit about Centaur Plus?
Sure.
Explain.
So Centaur Plus is a program where at the moment it's, I think, once a week, where there's time built into the school day for students to work on what they need to work on for individualized instruction. So if a student is struggling, say, in their math class, they can sign up via Centaur Plus to go see their math teacher during that period and work on math with other students who are perhaps struggling. Or if a student wants to do something extra in a class, they can go there. There's basically it's time specifically set aside to individualize the instruction. I think that's a great thing. There's still room for improvement in that. I mean, that's brand new, and we're learning how to do it. I have some thoughts about how one would do that a little better.
I want to hear those thoughts.
So
that's what today is about.
Part of it is finding a way to do a better job at targeting kids who need help, because it's great to allow self-selection and have somebody who says, I need help in biology, to go sign up and talk to their biology teacher. But what about the kid who maybe either doesn't know they need help, or more likely knows they need help but really doesn't want to face it?
Right.
You need to be able to direct that student, and in a way where they're going to feel when they get there like they're being helped as opposed to punished.
Right.
So,
why are there students who need the help but may not want to admit that or reach out to get that help?
So if your problem is that you're trying hard you know what to do, but this particular subject, for whatever reason, is just difficult for you, then getting peer tutoring or going to Centaur Plus seems like a straightforward option, and you're likely to go do it. If your problem is emotional, or for whatever reason you just don't get along with that particular teacher, or when you're in that class, it's a time of day where your circadian rhythm is off and you're just tired all the time and it seems like the class is overwhelming. Those might be the kinds of things where a normal human reaction is to avoid it. If your problem is you've got so many other things going on in your life that it's distracting you from school and you're having trouble just staying focused on school, you're not going to, school, maybe it should be your top priority, but it isn't, you're not going to make that happen. So if there's real human reasons why not everybody is going to, do the right thing all by themselves without any help or pushing or nudging.
So how do you reach the students who got an emotional block on getting that help, or have a time schedule block on getting that help? It almost seems impossible for either of those groups, but I'm sure it's not impossible.
Well, of course, it's something to work on, right? And I don't claim to have all the magic answers, but the way to work on it, I think, is to recognize that's a relatively small group of students. You don't have to do this for everybody. We have a lot of perceptive, dedicated, caring people at the high school. And if you think about the idea from Kids at Hope of trying to make a connection with every student for every interaction, and you think about the fact that we have people with lots of experience who can spot, hey, for whatever reason, this kid's not getting it, or I'm not reaching this kid, maybe somebody else can help. What we need to do is have systems in place that make it easy for a teacher or a counselor or a custodian or an administrator to recognize this kid needs something extra, let me go talk to somebody and see what we can arrange.
Right.
Basically, what it boils down to is now that we're doing pretty well with the majority of the kids, and we're putting steps in place to pick up that next level of kids who need a little bit extra, we should also be looking for how are we going to handle those exceptions? How are we going to handle one or two kids or somebody who's 1 in 100 but needs the help? What most schools do, and what we've done in the past in Culver City, is catch kids who are just about to flunk out of school and say, we have a special program for you. And we have one of the best in Culver City. We have Culver Park High, which does a terrific job with kids who have just almost lost it completely, and we can rescue them from the brink. That's wonderful that you can do that, but we need to do better than rescue them from the brink. We need to find and help students as soon as we can spot that something's a little off. If it's a student who's been getting straight A's and now this semester they're getting all B's, sure, it may not be as urgent for that child as it is for somebody who is getting F's, but nonetheless, that's a sign. We need to go look at what's going on with that kid. Is there something we can do? What happened? Is something going on at home? Is it, they suddenly have a girlfriend or a boyfriend and that's a distraction too? Things happen. We need to be able to try to pick up all of those to do the very best we can. I'm not claiming that that's easy, and I'm not claiming that that's a sign that we have anything, major wrong with our school system. After all, we're doing a lot of great things, but our goal is continually improving to do absolutely the best we can by every child, and to me, that's one of the next major steps.
So how do we know if Centaur Plus works? Say, project a year or two from now, and we look back. How will we know whether or not this is the right path, or whether or not we need to try something new and completely different at that point?
Well, I'd be really surprised if we needed to try something completely different and get rid of Centaur Plus. It's possible that we'll look at it and say, well, this is helping some segment of the population, but we need a different program for some others. More generally, I think what we always do as a district is look at overall, how are the students doing, what's academic success, are students graduating from high school capable of going on to college or a career, and succeeding in life. And that's our goal, right, is to have every single child leave Culver City school system ready to succeed in life. So what we want to do is look at any currents we see of students who are not living up to that potential and say, what did we do wrong? How do we help those kids? Hopefully help those kids before they get all the way to 12th grade and ready to leave, so that success for all, happens for everybody. The phrase success for all takes us all, which I'm sure you've heard if you've spent any time in the Culver City School District, has real meaning. It's not just a slogan. And the idea is every single one of us needs to keep in mind every single day that our goal is success for every single student. So if you want to evaluate any aspect of what we do, Centaur Plus is no different from any other aspect. We look at what Centaur Plus accomplishes and say, are we helping get success for every student? And I think there's already enough information to see that Centaur Plus is certainly helping some students. You can get anything from student testimonials of students who say, I was struggling, I came into Centaur Plus and now I'm doing fine, or teachers who say, now I have a way to reach these particular students and I don't have to pull them aside in class and distract from everybody else and have them, have people look at them, because sometimes kids don't want to be singled out in that way, and that's human nature as well.
Ultimately, if the teachers embrace the program, they're going to be embracing it because it works.
Right.
Teachers are far too busy to embrace any fad project or any dictate from Sacramento or from Washington, D.C., or even from the district headquarters, unless it actually is effective. So are you finding teachers are positive towards Centaur Plus? Are they using it? Are they excited by it?
Yes, but it's very early, and I'm not getting, all the way up to the school board, we're not getting any kind of vast statistical feedback. What I have is anecdotal evidence. Occasionally a teacher here or a teacher there will talk about the value of it. But
so that's a message for the teachers. Let the school board know, let the superintendent know how the Centaur Plus is going. That's the type of feedback that is necessary in order to sometimes tweak the program, certainly to improve the program, or just to add more resources to the program if it's working. People can't assume that just because it's working, the district's going to keep adding resources, because the district needs to have that feedback.
Yeah, so for example, maybe we decide we need to do this more often during the week. If the feedback becomes, this is really great and it's really valuable and we wish we were doing it twice as much, maybe we should be doing it twice as much.
Right.
But I want to be careful too, because we're talking about it as a program in isolation. Mm-hmm. And that's not really the right way to look at that or any other aspect of what we do during the school day and what our amazing staff does during the school day. It's one tool in a set of tools, and even bigger than any individual program like that is the culture and the attitude.
Right.
We have, right now, I think, in our school district, we do better than a whole lot of school districts in terms of focusing on the student and on success and finding, if there's something getting in the way of a student's success, finding what it is and fixing it. But there's still steps we can take in that direction. That's to me, the point of the coming years, is to look for ways to make it easier and more expected for every single staff member in CCUSD, every teacher, every administrator, every school board member, everybody, with every interaction with every student, to try to make a connection, to try to find something positive that student is doing and give them appropriate praise, not make something up, but find something that they're doing well. And keep an eye out for, is there something the student needs that we're not giving them? If we have a single student flunk, that means we failed for that student. You can't go through life focusing only on your failures, but you don't ignore them either. And we need to do everything we can to catch every single child and make sure that we give them the best we can and give them what they need. For some kids, for a lot of kids, most of the kids, we're doing that. They're getting what they need from Culver City Unified School District the bulk of the time. But there are some that are not, and we need to catch every single one.
So we've talked a lot about the high school. Let's talk a little bit about elementary school. I'm particularly interested in parent participation. It was only 4.5 years ago that I was a new parent at El Marino, and I really didn't know what was going on with the school. I went to a PTA planning session that I mistook for something that a new parent should go to, and they were talking about a bunch of things that I didn't understand, and I walked away not realizing that what they were talking about was 10 separate programs that the PTA, and later on I learned Alum, was running at the school. And it was those programs that a new parent like myself should get involved with, and I eventually did, but it took me a while to navigate that. What are you seeing at the school sites? And tell me about some of your recent forays into elementary schools.
So, first of all, I think we're seeing an upswing in parent participation in the elementary schools, and it's great. A nice example is if you look at Elmacon Elementary. Went to astronomy night there the other night. It was packed. They have a big all-day science fair thing coming up. There's a lot more parent participation than there used to be, and I think parent participation is really important for our students, not just in terms of parents raise money for the schools and we get to do something extra, but parent events, parent-run events, community events where kids, especially at the elementary school level, see their parents and their teachers and the staff working together and get the message that we think this is really important. The fact that I spend time on something says a lot more to my kids than if I pull my wallet and contribute money. Right. So I think that's really important. I'm really happy to see the way that's kind of blooming in some of our elementary schools now. Some of the schools that didn't always have as much participation as the others, you're really seeing a lot of that going on. The way to get involved, if you're a new parent like you were describing and you're coming in kindergarten or you're coming into a school, to any of the schools, start with what's going on already. Is there anything there that sounds like something I'd love to participate in?
How do you find out what's happening at a school?
Ask some of the other parents, ask a teacher, ask the principal. Usually these things, almost all the schools have an email group you can sign into and then get regular updates, probably way too many updates,
right,
of what's going on, and you can look for things.
So a little bit of homework for parents, a little bit of investment in the beginning. You might be able to find a program that you can grow with over the next 6 years while your child's at that school.
Right, and if you see something that's an opportunity, hey, I wish my school was doing this, go talk to somebody. Our teachers and administrators and staff are all people who are there because they want to do the best they can for the kids. So if you come in with an idea, sure, maybe you'll hear, oh, well, we thought of that and this is the reason why it doesn't work at our school. But if it's a good idea, chances are what you're going to hear is, hey, that sounds really great. How can we make that happen? And look for ways to fit it in, look for ways you can participate. One of the things that we've always done, or have recently, at least the last decade or something that I've seen the schools have done a pretty good job with, is we have a program that for people to help, come join us and help with this program. Something that we're doing a little bit more of now, and I'd like to see us do a lot more of, is I have an idea, I want to do X, Y, Z, let's talk about it and figure out if that can work in our school, or maybe, you know what, that doesn't work at the elementary school level, but hey, let's try that at the middle school. Working together and having people bring in their own ideas and their own strengths. If you are an expert in something, almost anything, we're preparing kids for life. Whatever you're an expert in is part of life. There's probably a way to bring that into the school and contribute and help our students be better prepared for when they get out of 12th grade and they're heading off into the world.
You know, let me circle around and then we're going to go to the final segment of the program. At one point on the high school you mentioned we should probably be doing more things like gaming and programming. It occurs to me that...
We are looking at that.
It occurs to me that each year in Culver City, downtown Culver City, we have the Independent Gamers Convention, where we have hundreds of amazing independent gamers come and show off their wear. Any chance that there can be some type of partnership between that incredible grouping of independent gamers and our high school students?
Sounds like a great idea. I don't know any of the details from that. I don't even know whether, for all I know, we might already be working on a partnership there.
You don't game, Mr. Levin?
Sorry, I don't. I do write programs for the computer, but the programs I write are generally very specific for my day job. There's science programs, and there's nobody else in the world who really cares about them except me. They're not really games. However, I can easily see the connection between people who write games and people who do the kind of stuff I do at work, and between working on a computer and learning logical thinking, learning to organize your thoughts, learning to put together an algorithm, a step-by-step set of directions. That can be useful in all kinds of other areas. So it is important to realize that we're not just talking about you go play computer games and all you do is get better at playing computer games. We're talking
That's
about,
how you bring the students in.
Right.
But once they're in, they realize, wow, your brain is now going to be trained to think logically, sequentially, and creatively.
And in fact, now that you mention it, that opens up another an important topic. It's called project-based learning. It's been around for a while. It's something that fits in really well with Common Core. And the basic idea is almost anything you do in life can be used as a way to teach. So if you take gaming as an example and say, we're going to have a project for you, we're going to build a computer game. There's a lot of kids for whom that's a big, exciting thing. That sounds like fun. And that's the reaction
I would join that class.
Right. So if you say, that sounds like fun, I want to build a computer game. And then I bring you in and I say, genuinely, in order to build this computer game, you need to do this math and you need to do this kind of logical thinking. And we're going to learn keyboarding or whatever it is that works, that we need to teach you anyway. That's part of what you need to do to build that computer game. Now it's a win-win for everybody. You get to have fun, you get to build your computer game, and we get to teach you something we wanted to teach you without having to make you sit there and stare at the teacher when you don't want to be there.
So what are the prospects for project-based learning in, I would imagine that's mostly secondary, or is that also elementary? But what are
You can definitely do it at elementary.
So what are the prospects for Culver City adopting that or embracing that?
So as a general principle, Culver City does embrace that idea. Obviously, the fact that some particular way of teaching something is going to be project-based learning doesn't make it good all by itself. You have to have good curriculum and good lesson plans, and it has to work with what you're trying to do. The right person to talk to about that is probably Katie Crumpy, our assistant superintendent for curriculum. She might be able to tell you a couple of examples of places where we're looking at project-based learning or grade levels where the teachers have gotten together and say, hey, this works at our grade level. I don't think we should see that or any other system as this is the panacea we're going to apply everywhere. But it's a nice example when you talk about the gaming of someplace that maybe things would have some synergy.
Interesting.
It also reminds me that there's probably some synergy there with our Culver Compact and our partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, because those are, after all, businesses coming in to do that gaming, is it show or convention, whatever it's called. And so it may very well turn out that there's somebody or more than one somebody who's part of the Chamber of Commerce who's connected with the schools and would say, hey, yeah, that sounds like a great partnership.
Right, good. All right, let's end the program with your top 3 changes or improvements or initiatives you'd like to see for our district.
Okay. I've mentioned some of it already, so, and it shouldn't be surprising that we're taking steps in that direction because I'm on the school board, so the fact that I think it's important gives me a platform to talk to people about it, and in general, there's agreement that these are important. So I'd say top of the list is finding a way to reach every single child and catching students earlier before they're failing. When a student is starting to struggle, identifying that and finding ways for to intervene. And we are certainly working on that and taking steps in that direction. But that's a major thrust, I'd say, something we need to be doing. Another challenge is all the change that we have happening. We have Common Core that we're still responding to. We have next generation science standards coming down the pike. We have the new tests associated with Common Core that we have to respond to. We have budget changes. We have a lot of things happening that are, generally speaking, good changes, but nonetheless changes, things that our entire district has to respond to. It's hard for people to respond to change. It's hard to respond to change while you're trying to do all of the stuff you always did or your day-to-day job. And it's hard to put in place a program that's going to work great for the kids 5 years from now that still works great for the kids right now today.
Right.
So when you impose change and you've got students who started in kindergarten and they're ending in 12th grade, whatever year it is for that child, when the change comes, you're changing the way they learn or changing what they're supposed to learn. You have to figure out that transition. We're working really hard on that. I don't think there's anybody in the system who doesn't recognize that that's important and that's something to pay attention to, but it's still a big challenge and something we're trying to make happen. And the last, I have to pick three. I'd say another challenge, maybe this is in the top three at least, is it's a good challenge, but it's the fact that we passed a school bond. We have a whole lot of work to do with that bond money, and we have to figure out which projects are happening first, which things are getting delayed, which things maybe aren't getting done at all. And that's not just about what's our highest priority. There's also, in addition to, we're going to do health and safety first and focus on things that directly affect learning, and we want to make the dollars go as far as they can. There's also some projects have to be approved by the state architect, and we have to take into account how long that takes. Some things can't be done while students are in the classroom, and we only have so much time during the summer to get everything done. Some things have to be done together. If you're going to work on plumbing in this particular building and you also need to go inside the walls for electrical, it makes no sense to do those separately and tear the walls open twice. You have to do that together. So putting together that whole big plan and adjusting to it constantly, because we're going to constantly be handling changes to the plan as things come up. That's going to be a big challenge. We're working on that, obviously. We have a really good consultant hired now who's a program manager. Charles Wren is a member of a firm that does this for a living, and they're giving us good advice, and they're working on putting all those puzzle pieces together. But of course, it's their job to give us advice, not make the decisions. We still, as a school board, have to go through all that and work with the staff and the consultants and the members of the community to figure out which things we're going to do when and fit all those puzzle pieces together. That's going to be a big challenge, and it's a challenge that's not going to go away. It's going to be years that we're still working on figuring out exactly, I really wanted to do that project, and now it's 2 years or 3 years, and I haven't gotten it done yet. Isn't there a way we can move this one up? That sort of thing.
So all three of those challenges, first, identifying students before they fall through the cracks. Second, the idea that we're having so much change occurring right now, much of it state mandated, but also some of our own types of project improvements. And third, the logistical issues involving the bond. It begs the question, do we have enough administrative staff to handle this? So I think there's a emerging or consensus here in Culver City that we have an excellent administrative staff. But we also have a tiny administrative staff. Just those projects alone make me feel bad for them. I can't even imagine their to-do list on a daily basis. Do we have enough? We pared down so much a few years ago because of budget necessities. Is this the time to expand, or are these things being handled and everybody is healthy and not ready to jump ship because of the magnitude of the challenges?
Somewhere in between. We to my knowledge, we don't have anybody who's so overwhelmed that they're ready to jump ship. We have some really great people at the administrative level, at every level. On the other hand, that's not to say that, oh, it's easy and there's people, people are working 9 to 5 and going home every day. We have a lot of people working a lot of long hours and really doing extra things.
Is it true there's bunk beds now in the district headquarters?
I don't know. There might well be. It is true that I've stopped by district offices at every place at any time of day from about 7 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, and pretty much always found at least somebody there working.
Yeah.
So in that sense, yeah, I'd love to be able to say we've found, 3, 4, 5, 15 great new people and we're going to add them on. But first of all, you would only add somebody if you found somebody who was great, because that's who we have there now, right? And second, there's lots of other areas where you'd love to add another person or another 10 people or another 50 people. There are many, many problems that can be solved by adding more great people. Not every problem can be solved that way, but clearly if we just said, where would we love to have another person, and spent our money there, we'd run out of money pretty darn fast. We're going to set priorities the way we always do. We're going to look at what's important for student success, what's important for our primary goal, which is every single child succeeding, walking away from Culver City ready to succeed in life. And we'll apply the resources where we think we'll get the most bang for the buck.
All right. Well, I think that does it. We've been with Steve Levin, school board member, brilliant man, a loquacious man, and we appreciate your time and all the energy you've put in since your first child started in school and all the way until now with 3 children going through the system. So thank you, Steve.
I appreciate you giving me a chance to talk, and I guess I kind of forgotten there was a camera there, but hi.
All right, thank you.